Hey there. Got my blocks, got my coconut water, and there are dogs right there. You can't see them, but they're right there. So don't make any sudden moves. So today what I'm going to do is very briefly, I'm going to show you how to make your splits a little bit bigger without stretching yourself to death and potentially causing injury. So in order to do that, we need to understand a little bit how the breath works. So if you have done my videos, if you have done my classes and you understand how to use the breath, which I call any number of things, the slinky breath, the Bonda breath, whatever it is, you can skip ahead and go ahead and start from there. Otherwise, we're going to make sure that our inhales and exhales are very active. So we're going to do 10 inhales and exhales, and then we're going to get right to it. So when you inhale from the nose as much as your sinuses will allow, and let everything just come down, pour down into the whole body like a full 4 or maybe 5-dimensional experience. So everything's just gently kind of pushing things down or creating space. And this is easier to do when your spine's in alignment. Okay, so if you're sitting tall, you don't have to be like I'm seated. In fact, I should probably be on a block right now or a blanket. So your inhales will kind of open up and free up space, right? So pretend like you're inhaling and you're pushing an elevator from the back of your nostrils all the way down. I like to picture the back of the spine because a lot of times we inhale in the front and we puff things up in the front. So if you think about inhaling and pushing that elevator gently, slowly, because if it's too fast, it's scary, all the way down to the base of the spine, to your tailbone. And as you exhale, squeeze from the bathroom muscles or the pelvic floor, just a little bit. You're not clenching from the front of the pubic bone and, that area there, and just lift up. So you're pushing the elevator back, up and out. So it's very active. I'm going to do a few here. So if you inhale, all the way down. As you exhale, see I'm making contact with the earth with my feet and my knees. I'm going to press those into the ground a little bit, draw some energy from the ground, squeezing from the inner thighs, and I'm just going to lift up and keep going. I could go all the way in, and then I would be puffing my pelvis forward, actually. So when you hear a lot of this, suck in your belly, pull your navel towards your spine, it really just kind of, it either makes people do this, or it makes people do that. And we're looking for somewhere in between, a stabilizing action, if you will. So it's just gently lifting up and in. So we're just trying to access a deeper line of muscles in the body so we can organize our spine kind of in the way that it was developing from early on. So let's warm up a little in cat-cow, and then we'll hit the splits. All right. So pressing fingertips, fingers, rolling the inner elbows forward, and just feeling a gentle squeeze between the forearms. Okay, like there's a little beach ball there, squeezing in, right? So my low back tends to dip quite a bit, so don't go so much by look in me. So right now my low back's fairly neutral, and I have a little engagement in the core. So I'm going to inhale through the nostrils and the back of the body, kind of fill up space a little bit all the way down to the tailbone. As I exhale, I'm going to draw up and in, and I'm going to round the upper spine just to give myself a little stretch. Okay. Now, conversely, you could inhale and overarch everything, and then exhale over tuck. So you'll see tucking the tailbone and all this stuff. I don't recommend tucking the tailbone a lot unless for some reason you just feel like you want to do it once or twice. But we do a lot of tucking the tailbone in our everyday actions, unfortunately. Sitting, sometimes we stand that way, and there's just a lot of ways to continually mess with our low back and other things. So you also have to realize that there's a relationship between your low back, the pelvis, and your neck. So if you have a head that tends to jut forward a lot, what happens is the tailbone tends to tuck. Now, we saw this a lot in gymnastics. We tell kids to keep their head neutral, so they could keep what we call the hollow body, or relatively neutral spine, meaning there's no real curves. The only real curve you would have in a hollow body that was exaggerated was the thoracic curve. And depending on the coach and the skill, you would exaggerate it more or less. And for me, I think that lengthening the front of the spine rather than puffing it out is really the way to go. I'm all about balance. Okay, but a little bit of arching isn't bad as long as you're engaged, right? Some people could arch and not have as much of a curve. So now that we've done about 10 breaths, that's about 10, we can come to the splits. So we're going to do this on hands and knees. So traditionally in yoga, and again, this is something that I kind of stumbled upon as a gymnastics coach for umpteen years. And then it just sort of became second nature to me. And then as we come to find out biomechanically, there's a reason why entering splits in certain ways will allow for different degrees of flexibility. Okay? So just come along for the ride. So usually it's inhale, straighten the leg and lift. Right? And then they tell you to square the hip and, puff up the low back. And, at that point, I think maybe you've already kind of done a little bit of damage, so to speak. So from here, what will be a lot nicer is we could inhale and then press everything into the earth to making contact. And as you exhale, draw the knee into the chest. Use that bandha breath so the elevator comes up from the pelvic floor all the way up. Take a breath here. And instead of lifting the whole leg straight, just lift the thigh bone on the exhale so that way you're not overarching. You can't overarch your back. And then inhale. And then maybe even take it a little higher. And then maybe inhale at the top. Because at that point, your body's already set. Now, my leg's already higher. And as you exhale, you can just draw it back down. Remember that your legs really do start from right about where the solar plexus is around here. So if you can use that breath when you're moving your legs and let it travel to about here, and then move the legs, you're going to find that your body moves in a lot more congruity. So in concert with one another. So as you inhale, maybe this is what you're taught, lift. And then you're told, okay, square the hip and press the heel back and puff up your kidneys, which I like to just use the exhale. If I use that exhale, that bandha breath, I'm squeezing up from the front of the spine, I don't even have to worry about that. So I don't have to get into a pose misaligned and then line it up after the fact. It's like building a house and then fixing all the defects in the foundation afterwards. Doesn't make any sense. But it is, the way things are traditionally taught, and sometimes tradition is often, just followed without thinking, how can we make this better? Or, how can we fix this from the foundation up? So as you exhale, draw that navel in. See, I'm already puffing up the kidney, so to speak. And then inhale here. And then with that exhale, squeezing up and in from the front of the pelvis, front of the lumbar spine, and then everything is already set in place. Look, my hip is square because I'm stable here. Take another breath in. Maybe even try to lift it a little bit. All right, this works even better in down dog splits. I'll show you. Exhale, wave up, walk things out. Now you may want to warm up a little more before this, but traditionally it's inhale, lift the right leg to the sky. Exhale, step it forward. Okay, so how about this? How about inhale, bend your limbs? Oh, you're told you're not supposed to bend your arms here. Well, actually, that's not a bad thing. Creating some space in the joints and some softness, especially if you're going to be lifting your leg up to the sky. So inhale, bend, and then exhale, just like we did, draw the right knee into the chest, and then just the right thigh bone. Inhale at the top. As you exhale, bend and don't bring the shoulders so far forward. Step forward here. Okay, that's just one example. Let's try again. My left leg is typically more flexible in the back because my right hamstrings are more flexible. So let's try this. Inhale, left leg to the sky. Okay, ready? Inhale, bend your limbs, get soft. Exhale, left knee into the chest. Take a breath here, tip the tailbone, and then exhale, start to pull just the thigh bone to the sky. Inhale at the tippity top. How did I suddenly get more flexible? I didn't. I just used the front of my body, my pelvis and my spine to organize first. Now, my splits themselves, not to say that you shouldn't stretch your splits, but it's not the only way to get deeper splits. So this can apply to standing splits as well. Standing splits do take a little bit more effort on the part of the standing leg because a lot of people lock the leg out, thereby locking out the movement of the pelvis here and also communication between the arches of your feet and your whole deep core line, your whole muscle line too. So I'm just going to go from kind of a high runner's lunge. And as I exhale and I curl, that left leg comes up from the solar plexus. Take a breath here. So I want to create space between crown and tail. So I don't want to be here, right? And then as I exhale, I can lift the thigh bone up. This leg's going to have to bend. I want communication. Inhale, straight. Okay, I don't have the biggest splits in the world, but this is bigger than I ever used to get. So I take it the traditional way. Inhale, heart forward. And then exhale, fold. Inhale, left leg to the sky. I'm pretty much stuck here because I'm relying totally on the back of my body. Okay, so do it on the other side. Again, right leg is typically not as big here because my left hamstrings tend to be a little tighter, but let's do this. Inhale, and then exhale, draw the right knee to the chest. Keep the left leg soft and bent. Inhale, tail back, crown forward. Exhale, start to rise the knee towards the sky. Let the standing leg stay soft. When you get to the top, inhale. And as you exhale, maybe bend the standing leg just a little more. Create a little space. Now that doesn't go very high, but inhale, exhale. Inhale doesn't go very high either. And that's like, ugh, now I'm really getting into my butt and my low back there, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so the idea is to get the front of your body to engage and organize the spine first, and the back of the body can do what it's supposed to do, which is to support you, not to move you. Okay, so that's just a couple of examples there. You can, of course, find splits in any part of your practice that you want. There's so many different ways to do it, but that's just a good way for you to get started. And then you can show off your newfound flexibility to anyone that cares, or, you know, just kind of incorporate that into your practice and feel a little bit floatier, a little bit lengthier, and you're not overtaxing the hamstrings and overtaxing the back of your spine. You're going to feel some freedom. Yay! All right, so that's your tutorial for the day. Leave any requests or comments right down there.